Now I'm going to show you the settings on the camera which are going to control your exposure compensation, they're going to control your flash, and they're going to control the timer. Also, selecting your ISO settings in a point and shoot camera like this sometimes can be a little bit tricky. Sometimes you have to be in auto mode. So on my particular camera here, to get to auto mode, I have to select this scene selector, and I can kind of scroll through and decide, oh, maybe instead I want party indoor setting or beach snow. Sometimes these settings like sunset or dawn dusk, I don't know what the difference between dusk and sunset is really, but there's a little bit of a difference in how your aperture and your shutter speed are set up. But these are kind of foolproof methods, and you don't have to know a lot about advanced photography. However, if you're going to go and shoot at night, or you want to change your ISO sensitivity, more times than not it's going to be under your auto mode, and then you're going to have to go to this menu button. Consult your owner's manual. Honestly, I forgot how to do this on this camera, and I had to re-look at the paperwork. So it'll be up to you to figure out how to get to ISO sensitivity. Consequently, this is also where my white balance for this particular camera is. So if I'm shooting at night, you can see as I scroll through, I can find different settings. 9 times out of 10 though, auto white balance is going to work great. Go to your ISO sensitivity here, and I'm set at, you can either set it at auto, but here at night you're going to need to compensate for motion, especially if you're shooting something like traffic at night, or there's nightlife. Your camera's much more sensitive at night, and so you're going to need to either use a low number to make things blurry or a high number of ISO sensitivity to make things still. You can also adjust for your using the little plus sign and minus sign here, which we've talked about before, to control the brightness or darkness of your exposure. It's called exposure compensation. Here's the exposure compensation button, plus minus. If I select it, and it gives me access to this little slider here, you'll just have to figure out if your camera works or not. You can see that when I lower the exposure, it makes the image a little bit too dark, or if I bring it way up, it overexposes it. This is going to be really important, and this will change as the sun goes down. When you're shooting at night, especially under low light conditions, you need to have an ISO sensitivity that's a little bit higher, so it's a little bit brighter, and you're going to have your exposure open more. Therefore, you're going to need to have your camera on a steady, solid surface, like a tripod or held against the side of a car or a wall. And you can set this little sensor here. This is your timer. I'm going to set this one to 2 seconds. Hit OK, and you'll see what happens when I press halfway down to focus, and then I hit the button. It counts down and then takes the picture. Especially if you want to put yourself or your friends in the picture, that's how you do it. I would suggest setting it to 10 seconds to do that. But it will stop you from shaking the camera around. No matter what, if you go and press this button when it's really dark, you'll get a blurry image. So whenever you're taking your night shots, make sure to stabilize your camera. Okay, I'm going to show you when the flash is to be used and when it's not to be used. Ryan's our model here. He looks good. He's got a green shirt on. He's bright. He stands out from the background. And under these lighting conditions, you probably don't need a flash. But in about 25 minutes, you're going to need one to see him maybe, or you're going to need to have your camera be really, really stable. I'm going to take a picture right now though with Ryan with the flash on. You can see where he's standing. He's about maybe 8 feet from that wall. You don't want them any closer to that because your flash is going to light up anything that's in the foreground. Also, your flash is never going to make it to the Capitol building back there, nor any of the buildings in the background. It's only going to light up Ryan, so he's going to stand way out from that background. That's okay, but if I pushed him right against that pillar in the back, it would light that thing up, and everything would sort of start to get bled together. Let's take a picture of him, see how it works. So we took a picture of Ryan with the flash on. Hopefully he looks pretty good. I'm going to take a picture with him with the flash off.
Flash off.
Right.
Do I need to show you how you run your own camera?
Yes. Ah, I forgot to put it down, that's why. God, okay, there we go. He looks good. So we're going to record some night shots here, and first thing is first, I got to turn off my flash. I don't want it to go off. So I'm going to hit that little zigzag button there that has a little arrow that's a universal symbol for flash. And on my camera, if I hit it, it gives me a second to select the no flash. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to take a practice shot, and it looks good. It's actually maybe even a touch overexposed. Sorry. So I'm going to go into my exposure compensation, and I'm going to drop the exposure. That looks pretty good. It's not the most interesting shot in the world. So I took a picture with the point and shoot camera, and I lowered the exposure because it was still a little bit overexposed. It's still kind of light out. It's not totally nighttime yet. When it's totally nighttime, you'll really need to set this on a surface, your camera on a surface, and take a picture. So now I'm going to use the SLR camera. And first of all, my ISO is a little bit low. I want it to be a little bit higher, so I'm going to go in and adjust that out. Here I have an ISO button on my camera. We go to 800 and then I preview it here. That looks pretty good. It actually looks better as it focuses than before. I can take my shot. But notice that my hands are moving around a little bit. And even at an 800 ISO, normally under full lighting conditions, it's going to look good and sharp. And here in my preview, I know I'm in focus. Try again. It just keeps going blurry on me. And this image being blurry, I'm going to have to take care of that using either or both of a solid surface like a tripod, or using the ledge or something like that, because your hand just naturally moves around. Nobody's that sturdy. Or I'm also going to use the timer. Okay, so now I have the camera on a tripod. It's a solid surface, and I'm going to first of all select my timer, and I'm going to just set it for a 2-second timer. And I'm going to preview. And I'm going to autofocus. There we go. Looks good. It looks great. That's a really crisp image. So I used a higher ISO for nighttime shooting. I used my timer and a solid surface, and that's how I got my image to be crisp and still show up. The darker it is, the more stable you're going to need to be. Lastly, if you're going to shoot at night and you have a nighttime setting on your camera, some cameras do, they'll have it somewhere around here on this dial, or it might be in your menu somewhere. Mine is called Night Portrait. You can always try that out and see what you get. Notice what happens though, the flash comes up, and it still didn't give you quite the picture that you were looking for. If you look at that and preview, it's still very dark. So my night portrait's trying to light up something that's right in front of the camera, and it doesn't care about what's in the background. So if you can go in and adjust your ISO to a high setting, use a stable surface, and use your exposure compensation, you'll get a great looking image. Wait 45 minutes for your camera to take a picture. Much better shot. That concludes this demo.